Hey, Jody here with WeldingTipsAndTricks.com. Today I'm putting together a ZTFab welding cart kit. Let's get into it. My friend Paul Brinegar is better known on welding forums and on Instagram as ZTFab. His company is Zero Tolerance Fabrication, is located in California. You can learn more about what he does at ZTFab.com. But here's some examples of the quality of work that he puts out. He's very well known on forums for his MIG-like TIG look technique, but he's an excellent welder, both TIG, MIG, also does CNC plasma cutting and CAD design. And you'll see as we get into this thing just how well this cart is designed. Now, this is not a cheap product here. I'm not sure exactly what the price point is, but it is high quality. It's for somebody that wants a welding cart that looks awesome and will last from now on and is tired of cheap welding carts. But it's designed really well. It goes together very well, just like a puzzle. Really good fits and outside corner joints here. I have decided that I'm going to put this thing together using the TIG 200 square wave here, using silicon bronze. But I'm going to tack it at a high amperage, 160 amps. It's only about 100 thousandths thick. And I just blast the foot pedal really quickly to get really small tacks. It lets me put something like this together really quickly. Even sometimes when if I were, for example, going to MIG weld this project out, I might tack it like this. Tack it all up with really small tacks and then come back over with MIG. And that way I could not see where the tacks were when it was done. There wouldn't be any bump or anything like that. But in this case, I'm going to put little small fusion tacks. I'm rocking the electrode in, touching off, then rocking it back, and then hitting it with a quick blast on the foot pedal, pretty much just romping the foot pedal down and tacking it every 3 inches or so. And that's typically how I do a project like this. Really quick, just a really quick blast. In fact, if I have a torch switch, I'll use that instead of a foot pedal for this particular operation. Same on this side. Now here's where the design comes into play. This is where the argon cylinder or shielding gas cylinder will go on the back. And everything just kind of supports itself and stiffens itself up here. That heavy piece of metal that's bent there, it's about a 1/4 inch thick. That's what holds the cylinder. But with everything lined up and with the axles through the hole and everything, kind of makes it kind of foolproof on putting it together. And then when it is together, it's really strong. You could almost just tack this thing together and would have enough strength. Now this bottom part here, I will weld with ER70 rod when I get to that point. And looking at it, it's been sitting around for 2 or 3 months in my humid basement. I should have probably cleaned all that off, but I'll do it at the end. And it's underneath. I can wire brush it, do whatever I want after the fact. I'm going to weld this area with ER70 rod because this is the area that supports all the weight of the gas cylinder. The reason I say I'm going to weld that with ER70 rod is because almost the whole rest of this thing I'm going to use silicon bronze. Just because I need the practice and because I thought it might be fun. These outside corner joints just go really quickly. And another benefit of silicon bronze is it takes less heat because it is actually a brazing rod. It's not technically welding. And so you put less heat in on these little corner joints, and therefore you get less distortion, even though I don't think this thing would distort enough to make a difference anyway. And silicon bronze, because it's a brazing rod, again, it takes less heat. So, I was maybe running about 65 or 70 amps here to weld this stuff that's almost 1/8 of an inch thick, and it flows it in there, no problem. I like to push a little extra in too because it is not as strong as weld metal. I like to get a little reinforcement when I'm doing outside corners like this. And typically you wouldn't use silicon bronze for structural applications, but again, the design of this cart pretty much is where the strength lies. I'm just having fun here. You see all the dimple die punches, that stiffens everything up a lot as well. And of course then winds up with a little bit of weight reduction too. When you're using silicon bronze, you kind of, it's good to have a foot pedal, not 100% needed, but you kind of just want to use just enough heat to flow the metal the brazed metal forward. Now I'm going to try experimenting with a little pulse, 2 pulses a second, and get a bigger rod. I was using a 1/16 1.6 millimeter rod. I'm going to use a 3/32 a 2.4 millimeter rod, and just lay the wire in that little trough that the outside corner joint leaves, and just go along at 2 pulses a second. And that actually worked out pretty well, but I kind of got tired of it, so I went back to just feeding. Stayed with the big rod, cranked the amperage up to about 100, and just used the foot pedal. I could be using a larger cup here and get much better color, but a little wire brushing or a little buffing takes care of that, and I don't want to waste my gas. Look how well that fits. What I'm going to do is take a little piece of metal and make a stop, clamp it on there so that I can rest the little riser pieces. They'll fit in the hole, but they won't be sticking through the hole. And I can hold them up, and just with the aid of a little tiny magnet, I can get a tack weld on them. Now I'm going to place a tack weld lengthwise here, one on each side. I know it's going to be straight that way because of it locating itself on the stops that I have clamped underneath there. Then I'll get it kind of close. Same thing on the other one. And I will use the pieces that connect them all to get everything straight before I get too many tacks on here. I still want to be able to move it sideways. So with tacks only on the lengthwise, only on one side like that, I can still move it sideways to make sure everything fits and everything's plumb. I'm going to use the hardware that comes with it, the bottle bracket here, as well as the top pieces, to kind of just tie everything together and get it straight. Easy. This piece I had to massage just a little bit, put a piece of angle iron on the back side, clamp it down, make sure everything fit. Nice outside corner joints. No big deal though. Now this cart is designed to fit the 210 MP welder as well as the Square Wave 200. And I have both, and I'm not really sure which one's going on it yet. Probably the Square Wave TIG 200. That's what I'm welding it with today, again. And so I'm spreading these about 20.5 inches to give myself just a little extra room in case I want to put a different welder on it. I've got several that would fit on this cart. And having just an inch or so space on the front and the back won't be a problem. I don't want to have it too tight. Now you see that bent over piece there that kind of retains the welder, the little tab. I'm not even going to weld that. I don't see any point. Sometimes good enough is good enough, you know. Welding is just asking for more trouble, more distortion, and it's not needed. I'm playing around here, doing a little walk in the cup on these round pieces on the bottom, and then I played around a little bit coming in from the top like this as well. Feeding in quite a bit of this braze rod here, just because it is a braze rod, and so I want it good and strong. Nice big fillet will help do that. And again, one of the reasons I use silicon bronze here is I don't get to do it that often, and I just kind of wanted some practice. Wanted to learn some stuff. Here I'm coming at this from a little different angle because it is braze rod. I just want it to flow, and it flows really nice downhill like that. Depending on the application, depending on the joint, sometimes I left the wire in the puddle. Sometimes I dipped it in and out. Here I'm doing a little lay wire technique, just with a little slight weave. And just moving on. And again, this is the piece that will hold the gas cylinder, so I'm going ahead and welding it with ER70S2. Now it's time to put all the wheels on. Nice hardware here for these casters, locking nuts on there. And I put those wheels on first so I could set it on a flat surface like this and make sure that I don't have to, make a little fine adjustment here and there. I want all 4 wheels to touch without any rocking here, and I'm able to make sure that happens here by putting everything together with the wheels on it on a flat surface. And I'll just get 2 tacks, one on each side on these axles, and I'll make sure everything touches before I get any more tacks, while there's still an opportunity to bang things around and move them a little bit. So didn't have to. Everything's just like you would expect it. Just wanted to make sure. Now I'll get more tacks and then weld the axles out. Welding this with ER70S2, not the silicon bronze, because this area back here will have a bit of weight, especially if I have 2 cylinders on it. And these are just for cable management, which is something lacking in a lot of welding carts. Places to hang your ground clamp, your TIG torch, your foot pedal cable, and all that stuff. And there she is. So we'll put the Square Wave 200 on here. I'm not sure if I'm going to just oil it down or clear coat it or paint it or what, but for now, I just want to make sure everything fits. And we'll see how everything stands with the cables and everything. Let's go a little once over here. Again, that little tab there is nice to retain and make sure the welder doesn't fall off. I'm not going to weld it. It's got nice little cable management brackets that come with it that are dimple die punched. The nice smooth bent tubing handles here are something that I didn't realize how valuable they are, because I have bumped a hip on some of my handles that are protruding. The dimple die, again, lessens the weight and stiffens things up, and especially works really well on this 2-cylinder bracket back here. Now, having 2 cylinders is important for me. I should have had it on my last cart that I built. I didn't. I just put 1. These are nice heavy-duty cast iron solid rubber wheels. And the chains are heavy duty, no S-hooks, got those locking loop things on there. So it's a good looking cart, it's heavy duty, it's designed really well if you want to learn more about them. Paul has got a website set up called alacarte.com. You can see it right here. I'll put a link in the description of this video as well. So that does it for this week. See you next time.